Monster Hunter. By now it is a recognizable title to even the most casual of hardcore gamer. But despite its widespread familiarity within gaming's culture, many still remain unaware of what this obscure and eccentric Eastern game is all about. Even the game's name leaves one without but a hint because of how cryptic and vague the title's wording is. What is Monster Hunter about? This is the question that's on everybody's mind. Luckily for them, and for you, I've taken the time to use my cognitive psychosis to bring forth this review and finally answer the question. Just remember that everything we think is subjective. There is no right or wrong, meaning that my perception and experience cannot be refuted and will always be as accurate as it was, has, and ever will be. Now let's take a closer look at Monster Hunter World. The game opens innocently enough, delivering you into a character creation screen after a short cutscene. Everything is as expected, until prompted to enter your character's name, of which the default choice is curiously set to Servant. Even more curious is following this, you are then required to do the same for a feline companion, which will join you on your journey, and upon its name entry, the default choice is set to Master. Clearly there is some kind of game-related subtext being communicated here, which we will explore in more detail in a time period not unlike this one. As I am a child of the modern day that naturally defines my very existence by my 24/7 media consumption that relentlessly dictates everything I could ever think or want without my direct awareness, then I, of course, lack any kind of original imagination or proper sense of meaningful self-identity required to create any original context or backstory for my avatars. So I left the default names as is. The game takes place historically when dinosaurs were still roaming the earth and rocks were still sentient millions of years ago, albeit in an alternative universe, which matches accurately with the primitive level of technology on offer, as it was around this time in human history that we were only just discovering how to develop structures made from bone and metal, create airships, Gatling guns, explosive barrels, and so on. It's a beautiful-looking game with a vibrant art style and enormous attention to detail in its world design that puts all its competitors in the same genre into shame and regret. Initial gameplay will have you exploring different environments on various quests to gather things, and it is here that the game's true nature begins to reveal itself. You'll quickly notice that your feline companion is with you at all times, ominously watching your every move. You can request your companion to remain at camp so you may travel alone, but this option doesn't fit in with my narrative, and so it is wrong and doesn't count. You'll then quickly notice nearly all items you are required to gather is something that can be eaten or later fashioned into another form of edible or drinkable item. Alongside this relentless collecting, you are tasked to kill or capture much of the wildlife. It's never made explicitly clear why you are to do this, but based upon the presentation so far, it's safe to assume that they are another thing to be eaten. This is the game in a nutshell. You travel from locale to locale, beautifully realized and designed locales at that, collecting more and more things to eat and drink. The amount of eating and drinking your character and companion will do is staggering. The sheer scale of effort the developers have dedicated to the animations and processes of this endless consuming clearly shows us that Monster Hunter World is a cooking game. With this newfound clarity, everything else you do within the game begins to make sense. The end goal for everything is to be eaten, and you are tasked with finding ever more exotic ingredients, combining them together, so that more dishes may be created in the quest to fill your belly. Even the tools you are given, which might at first be foolishly mistaken for weaponry, when examined from the correct perspective, are actually repurposed kitchen utensils and other food-related objects made to fit their larger tasks. We have a toothpick, skewer, tenderizer, musical tenderizer, skewer with a built-in reheating function, a peeler, pizza cutter, a cleaver, icing syringe, knife and fork, dental floss, blender, flounder, and Gatling gun. It all seems rather violent and disturbing for a game belonging to the cooking genre. But fear not, you malnourished and underdeveloped ethereal paragon of righteousness. When using these tools against the wildlife, you are doing so in a humane way. The red splash effect, which occurs upon impact with a creature, is not blood, but rather a form of sauce or dressing you gradually apply to it, until it gets worn out and takes a little nap. I know this because in preparation for this review, I penned a letter to the game's director, Capcom, asking this very question, among others. Affixing 2 first-class stamps as it was being sent to his far-away country of Asia, I received a reply the next day. Here is what he said. We take the matter of animal welfare seriously, real or no. When engaging with wildlife in the game, you are, as a matter of fact, not attacking, but playing with them until they become tired and must rest. Each strike of your character's tool does not harm them, but just tickle them, and gradually you are applying a different red sauce onto their body as you play with them. Sauces like tomato ketchup, Tabasco, chili, relish, all that kind of thing. And when the animal has had so much fun that it is resting, you may then humanely take it back to your camp and consume its flesh for various benefits and perks, returning it to the wild before it awakens. It's all very friendly and lovely. Sometimes it even removes its tail to let you keep as a souvenir of your time together, and even shed its skin and bones all by itself to allow you to make snuggly, fashionable clothes and accessories for your character. So there you have it, a cooking game through and through. Although comparing to its competition, such as Cooking Mama, Tomb Raider, and Grand Theft Auto, Monster Hunter is more concerned with the acquisition of ingredients rather than the preparation of them. But what about the vegetarians? Are they also included? Can their needs be satisfied? Yes, there's a vegetable here and here. And how about the vegans? Are they also satisfied? No, as vegans cannot ever be satisfied as part of their job description. The only other thing suitable for them to eat is other vegans. Fair enough. This leaves us to try and understand the narrative, which is deeper and more profound than you might realize. I touched earlier on the strange choice of default names for your avatar and companion, and you may have noted in the footage behind my voice that there is an overwhelming presence of cats within the world of Monster Hunter. Everywhere you go, a cat is not far away, watching you. Even an intimidating boss cat presides over your human meetings, stoic and imposing. Why? Because, you see, in actuality, in this world, humans have been secretly enslaved by the cats. The details of how this happened are left unexplained, but it's obvious when you stop and pay attention. Everything is being run by cats, while humans are either sent out constantly on errands to procure more ingredients, or performing slave labor within the encampment itself. Do you remember the ship at the beginning of the game? Where were the humans? Below deck, where slaves were typically kept in that time period. Scientists have recently proven that cats eat. This is a known fact. So in Monster Hunter, they have humans doing all the work for them, fetching more and more things in an attempt to satisfy their insatiable hunger. The default name for your avatars suddenly make very clear sense. Don't believe me? Don't worry, I don't either. But being the professional skeptic I am, I wanted clarification. I penned another letter to Mr. Capcom asking him to confirm my findings, this time affixing 3 first-class stamps in hopes of receiving a faster reply. The reply came back that very same evening. Here's what he said. Yes, the cats do in fact rule over humans in this world. I have always had an affinity towards cats throughout my life. I am also happily married to a cat, Mrs. Catcom. So when I set out to make this game, I wanted to bring them into the spotlight, to show their superior intelligence, cunning, and attractiveness compared to humans, but in a very indirect way. Humans are selfish and cruel creatures, but easily manipulated. The cats in this world have tricked the humans into thinking they are still in charge, while maintaining careful watch and control over them. This way, they can be used for the cat's divine intentions, rather than just eradicating them from the world. This is the cleverness and cunning of cats. You may even notice the suspiciously smaller humans within the game. That's right, beautiful cat-human crossbreeds. Something I am still trying to get legalized in my country, so my dream of starting a cat family may finally come true. Monster Hunter is my visualization of the perfect world, consisting of cooking and cats, my 2 favorite things. But many in the modern day are unaccepting of this inevitable future reality, and so I hide this aspect of the world in plain sight, waiting to be found by those willing to see. I'm so happy you have. So, a cooking game with a deep and complex narrative of feline affection buried under the surface. A director's love made manifest. Fine. There is one last loose end, however. The handler. Another humanoid person that cooks for you and gives you quests and voices her mouth with sound-making sometimes. What is her status in all this? At first I was left perplexed by this question, and I'd run out of stamps so I could no longer ask the director, until I spent some time looking closely at her name. Aided by my psychoactive alteration therapist pipes, I was able to see that when you rearrange the letters of her name into a certain pattern, translate that pattern into Portuguese, rearrange those letters, run it through specialized speech-to-text software, and then multiply the resulting letters with those missing, the word slave emerges. This is no accident, and is but another hidden layer of the sumptuous story pie that Mr. Capcom has prepared for us. So we now know what kind of game it is, we understand what the narrative is going for, but what of the gameplay content? As a cooking game, it fares okay, providing many ingredients to find and use, including a meat, vegetable, drink. Everything you need for cooking is there. It's not very in-depth, but it gets the job done, leaning more so on the world detail and exploration to keep you entertained than is traditionally expected of this genre. And if that isn't enough for you by itself, then adding to this in the near future is the upcoming expansion, Iceborne, where the cats discover the power of refrigeration for storing their food, greatly expanding the depth of eating. I tremble with excitement at all the possibilities. So we now come to the end of this review, and hopefully a greater understanding of what to expect before deciding whether to purchase this game. I do hope this has been of use to you. It was my birthday yesterday, so I hope as a present you can share this video with all the things. It'll be a great help in aiding my ascension and inevitable future corruption as a content creator, as everything eventually becomes about money and metrics. Thanks.